Hello, 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 everyone. This is Nikki Anthony, and I'm the founder of Little Hands Big Hearts. And I want to say welcome to segment 8. This is our final segment. So we have ended it with an awesome cast. I don't want to say cast, I guess panelists that are representing transportation science, different forms of transportation, and what they do. And this is really exciting. I actually had the opportunity last week to pilot a plane. So I was like, oh, I'm going to be super ready for this one. So super excited to share these guest panelists with you. And shortly we'll have them introduce themselves. I just want to kind of get my co host to introduce herself for the evening.
My name is Lauren Anthony, and I am in first grade, and I'm 7.
All right. So Lauren's going to be co hosting with me. And we'll get her too. You want to read the mission statement really loud too, okay?
The mission of Little Hands, Big Hearts, Little People Service Organization is to develop little people into servant leaders who think beyond themselves for the greater good through what's that word? Explicit and intentional opportunity for character development, selfless service to others, and community-based volunteering.
Very good. So I'm going to reread that in case you didn't hear it. The mission of Little Hands, Big Hearts, Little People Service Organization is to develop little people into servant leaders who think beyond themselves, excuse me, for the greater good through explicit and intentional opportunities for character development, selfless service to others, and community-based volunteering. And I say it every segment that we have, that the purpose of this particular series that we've been in, the career exploration series, is to expose children to different and varying professions now so that they can start looking at what they want to do later. A lot of times we don't have an idea of what's available to us. Sometimes parents tend to pigeonhole us. Unfortunately, there may be educators that try to pigeonhole us, but there are so many different opportunities that are available to us career-wise. And so we want to make sure that our children are exposed to those career paths now so that when they get to high school, they have, a little more of an idea of what is possible for them. So with that, I want to go into introduction of our panelists. We'll start with Captain Tashawn. We'll go to Master Sergeant Action Jackson. Then we'll go to aviation boatswain mate Charmaine Anthony. And then we'll go to commercial driver Kiera Cooper. All right.
Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Hey everyone, my name is Tayshawn Phantom DeBerry. Phantom's a call sign that they give in this community. I am a Air Force officer in the United States Air Force. I'm from Georgia. I went to college at Virginia Tech and got selected to become a RPA pilot. RPA stands for remotely piloted aircraft or drones. So you can think of it like that. So basically, I am here right now, currently in Las Vegas, Nevada, and I pilot drones across the world. So
wow.
Yeah, that's all me.
Thank you. So that was really, really cool. That was something new for me, everyone. So I'm looking to learn even with this segment. When I heard, I was like, oh wow, pilot for drones. Oh my. So, maybe when I grow up, I can consider that as a profession. Who knows? All right. Master Sergeant Jackson.
How's everybody doing? I'm Master Sergeant Adrian Action Jackson. I spent the last 20 years in aviation. I began as an aircraft mechanic. I was a flight engineer for 10 years, and now I'm a sensor operator. So I also fly drones in the right seat with Phantom. So I'm from Pennsylvania. I currently live in Las Vegas as well, but I moved all around the country over the past 20 years, from California to North Carolina, then to Delaware, and now I'm here in Nevada. And I look forward to talking to you guys about what it really looks like to be an Air Force enlisted member.
Thank you. All right. Charmaine? Uh-oh. I think we might have lost her. Kiara, if you can jump in, go ahead.
Okay, hey everybody. My name's Kiara. I'm from Florida, and I'm a commercial driver. It didn't start this way, but that's how it's going. So, yeah, that's just a little bit about me.
And she's kind of an anomaly. I wanted her to be a part of this because we don't often see a lot of women commercial drivers. So she is out here doing her thing. I'm very proud of her. If you're wondering, like, wow, they have the same face, we do. We are related. So this is my cousin. And yeah, we got some comments already. We got a hey Tayshawn, love you. We got that's my brother, that's my fam, to Adrian, Kilulu, Kiara, I'm sorry. Yeah, we got some comments. So thank you all for joining us. And we will actually get started with our questions. So I'll let Lauren take the first question.
What skills do you think it's important for parents to look for and identify in their child if their child seems to show tendencies towards possibly becoming a
commercial pilot, a commercial driver, a drone pilot, and then we have Wen Kiero. She's actually out on the road, so there might be some connection issues there, but we'll get them back and we'll just keep rocking, okay? But I'll reread the question. What skills do you think is important for parents to look for in identifying their child if their child seems to show proclivities towards wanting to be a drone pilot?
Am I okay? I'm mute. All right. Skills that I think is important for parents to look for. I think someone with a leadership drive. Because I'm an officer first, and then I'm a pilot. So you have to be an officer in order to be a pilot, and that doesn't omit your duties as an officer, because that's what you're rated on, is that. So as far as being an officer, having good leadership qualities, being having humility to be able to accept when maybe you're doing something incorrectly, and you come out and admit that and get better from it. So you have to be ready to learn, ready to lead people. And with that, I would say as an officer, it's important to me to be very approachable and honest with everyone in your work environment, at work and at home. So I think those are really good qualities. And I think another one that's not mentioned often, I would say, is social intelligence. So knowing yourself and how you react to certain situations, and knowing your people and the people in your workplace and how they're going to react to places, because as an officer, you are an inherent leader. So what you say carries a lot of weight to your people. So that is what I would say for the officer portion. For if you want to take that a step further and become a pilot, I would say skills like problem solving skills, critical thinking, someone along those lines, people who have in the face of adversity, they keep their composure, things like that. So I would say those are pretty good qualities to look for. If you see that in someone, then they can be up for become a pilot and an officer.
That's awesome. Awesome. Those are all really good qualities. I love how you talked about social intelligence. emotional intelligence. So knowing yourself and, being able to respond accordingly from the position that you sit in also. So you don't, you know, I don't think I mean, we all have, lives that we live, but I would imagine to some degree that you have to remain captain even when you're out in public and, on your weekends and all of that. So that's awesome. All right. Anyone else?
So for me, I was always really hands-on with a lot of things. I always worked on things. So that's kind of what got me into becoming a mechanic. So I started there, and there was a lot of reward in taking care of airplanes and making sure that they're ready to fly. So I thought that one, it was a huge responsibility, but I wanted to take it on, and two, it was right up my alley to be turning wrenches. So that was kind of where I started. As far as the
Mhm.
flying portion was concerned, it was traveling. So I've been to over 40 countries. Um,
Wow.
I've got uh, just under 4,000 flying hours. So it was huge. Like, again, it was huge to me to stay in this aviation thing, and now being a sensor operator. Though you don't travel, um, the use of the airplane, the employment of it is something exceptional. If you would get a chance to actually see how that's done. So my
Mhm.
interest was really in doing a lot of things that were hands on, and so I was able to tap into that in the career field that I'm in.
Mhm. Awesome. So we heard hands on, and Kiara and Charmaine, you all can get ready. But yeah, we heard hands on. So I would imagine Adrian knows his learning style. He said like he was into the mechanics and all of that. And that's really important, parents, for you to learn how your child learns, because everybody does not learn the same way. But I would imagine once he learned how he learns, like that is what kind of drove you in your career path, I would imagine. So that's awesome. Charmaine?
Well, I didn't even get a chance to introduce myself. My name is Tremaine Anthony. I'm in the U.S. Navy, and like AJ, I'm very hands-on, and I think that's what led me into the aviation field as well.
Mhm.
And actually, he probably don't know, but he was my inspiration. Living in the house with
Wow.
him and seeing that he was in aviation. That was something that drew me towards aviation. It's a lot different than what he's doing.
Mhm.
We're doing ours on a ship, which is completely different from drones and him flying and everything like that. It's really cool, and like I said, like them, you have to be. It's very hands-on. We do a lot of the maintenance and everything like that. I think you also have to be able to verbally communicate properly. You have to
Mhm.
be able to pay attention to detail. You have to be able to look out into the sky and be able to, pay attention to the amount of lights that's flashing and be able to just see what it is that you're looking for.
Excellent. Adrian, you look like you want to say something else. You good?
No, no, I'm good. I'm sure that I'll speak up on some of the other questions.
Gotcha. Okay. So we'll go to our next question. Um, what were some of the hobbies that you engaged in as a child that contributed to you becoming in just insert your profession? So working on, the ship as aviation boatswain, drone pilot, anything that you can think of that contributed to you becoming who you are today.
So
Hmm.
for me, like I said, I was very hands-on, and I know there were times where I would have to come in the house before it got too dark, and my granddad would be out there working on the car. So that's what got me into maintenance specifically. So when I was given a list of jobs to choose from, and I saw, well, hey, aviation boatswain, we do a lot of maintenance. Well, it's something I can do, and it also, like I said, with my uncle AJ, he was in aviation, so it just fit perfectly for me, and that's what drew me to doing that.
Okay. I guess I'll go. I didn't really have. I don't think I really had hobbies that led me here. I mean, I had hobbies. I enjoyed playing sports every now and then. I played a little bit of football when I was really young. I played a little bit of basketball, uh, and then I actually just played video games. I was a homebody, so I just stayed at home and just it didn't lead to me wanting to become a pilot. I think just uh, experiencing it, as in seeing it happen, I was always like, I think it's really cool that these giant things are flying in the sky, but they're like super heavy. And then I said, I'm gonna fly one of those. Um, so I always knew that I wanted to fly, but I didn't always know that I wanted to do it for the military, which that came a little later, around like high school is when I was like, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and try to do this for the military. I cut off my hair, and then I went for it. I used to have longer hair, so you know, sacrifices. But yeah, that's all for me.
That's funny you said that. I used to have longer hair too. That's good. Um, so for me, I fell into it kind of because my pursuit was I wanted to actually be an air traffic controller. So though it was in aviation, it wasn't exactly what I ended up doing. And because I was always very similar to what Charmaine mentioned, I used to work with my grandfather all the time. I did construction. Like I said, I would work on cars and things like that. So I was able to fall right into it when that opportunity wasn't available at the time. So I was in pursuit of air traffic control. It wasn't available to me at the time. However, the aircraft maintenance thing just fell right in my lap, and it was a perfect fit, and I enjoyed it. I feel like I really excelled at it, which allowed me to move on to actual flying in my later years in the military.
Excellent. Excellent. So I want to just kind of segue into the next one because we're talking about, when we were a little bit younger and kind of growing up. What was, try that one for me,
What was your favorite subject in school? Was it an
indicator?
indicator of your current
Profession.
profession?
What was your favorite subject in school? And that's anytime. So you may have had more than one. I had a couple. And then was it an indicator of what you're currently doing?
I guess I'll start. I would say technically yes, because it was science, but it didn't have anything to do with me becoming a pilot. There's science in piloting, but not my favorite subject didn't have anything to do with mine. I was good at math, so I thought I was gonna become an engineer. I went to college, and there was a program where we got to try engineering, um, and I quickly got out of that. I just it wasn't for me. So I actually just pursued political science, which for my profession, you can have any degree and do it. So yeah, I just pursued that, and I still enjoy science today. I think is really interesting, but it didn't have an indicator of my current profession.
I would say it'd be the same for me. So strangely, math and science were also two that I really enjoyed. However, again, no, it didn't have a direct correlation to what I'm doing. Um, but I also wasn't a huge. Uh, I mean, I wasn't investing a lot of time in school. Just to be brutally honest, um, it wasn't that I was incapable of getting good grades or anything like that. It was not my vision to, become some huge scholar. So the avenue of going outside of that and being able to again learn and do things hands on kind of is how I ended up where I am today. It required schooling, a lot of schooling, to get into it. But I think that what made it easier was in pursuit of what I wanted to do, I attached education to that as opposed to it being the other way around.
Well, like them, my favorite subject in high school or in school period was English, and it has absolutely nothing to do with what I'm doing now. But like AJ said, there is a lot of schooling that is required, or not a lot, but there is schooling that's required for the jobs that I'm doing.
So we'll look at the next one. What character traits do you think are necessary for your particular profession? So character traits. And we are, working on developing little people into servant leaders, into learning how to lead in whatever profession they go into, but also before that, leading in the home if they have siblings, leading on their teams if they play sports, leading in any civic organizations that they may be a part of, leading in school. So what sorry, I can't even talk, character traits should be developed if they're thinking about going into your particular profession. So what's now for then?
I would say, as an officer, I think approachability and reliability is super important in my opinion, because I feel like if you're approachable by your people and the people under you, it can trickle to all of the other things that you can possibly need. So if just for unit cohesion, unit morale, being an approachable leader can help you help that manage that. And I would also say this is definitely for sure as a pilot, um, perseverance. And I think that's something I learned uh, because I didn't fail a lot in school. I kind of grew up not having to study really. And then I hit college and I had to study a little bit, but my major wasn't that hard. So when I became an officer and I started flight school, it's an entire different way of learning. And that was the first time where I got to fail. And it's extremely important that you realize that failure is not the end, and it's a great teacher, and you need to keep moving when you fail. That's how you find success. Everyone fails, and not to be afraid of that. So perseverance would be huge for me.
So I'd say there's going to be probably a common theme, which is being a leader. So leadership, being willing to stand out front and kind of take the weather the storm through the tough times of whether it's growing and learning or failure, and then being able to work well with teams. So being able to integrate with people from different backgrounds, different upbringings, different moral scales, and still be successful at the end of the day. So leadership and again being a quality team member would be huge, very huge. And then humble, right? So you're going to fail, like you mentioned, but can you bounce back, and are you self-aware and understand that you're going to have to try hard? It's never anything given to you that's easy to get. You're going to be working hard to get to it.
That's really good. Charmaine, you can jump in, that's fine. But I do want to stick a pin in two things. So Captain Tashawn mentioned failure. And I'll come back to that. And then teamwork, being a quality team member though, that's like really key. So Charmaine, you jump in, then I'll come back after you. Go ahead.
Well, I literally have the same exact thing written down. So I have a great team player and being able to work well with others. Those are two very important things that I think you need in this career field. So I don't really have anything to say after that.
Sorry, really quick, I wanted to add, Adrian brought up something. Another thing I think that works, especially with officers, is being able to take feedback from other people that are under you. Sometimes people can think that because, technically I'm a captain, right? So technically I outrank Master Sergeant Action Jackson, but he has how many years in the military? I'm new to the military. I've been in for a little, like 4 years, four and a half years. So I will look to him for a lot of mentorship. It doesn't, like, rank does not matter for knowledge. It doesn't at all. So I think being able to take feedback and to go to people who know more than you, admit that, and learn from them, super important as an officer.
So experience is a teacher. That's what I'm hearing. Experience is definitely a teacher. And a lot of times, I've seen, as you grow and whatnot, we think that because we might have the status, we don't have to necessarily take direction from people who, the rank may not be like ours or the status may not be like ours. And that's untrue. So parents, work on developing that definitely with your little people. If they've been playing a sport, for maybe uh, they're the star on the team or whatever. Just work on developing that. They can be the star, but they still have to take direction. There may be someone who is more versed in whatever their position is. So learning how to subscribe to whoever that leader is, that's awesome. And then talking about quality team player, so being able to when I think quality, I'm thinking you're giving your absolute best in whatever it is that you're doing. So, you may be the best or whatever. Sometimes we get angry and all of that, and we don't want to participate the right way anymore. That's unacceptable. Until you move to something different, be sure that you're giving your absolute your best work and your quality work and how you interact with people, because your name says a lot about you. Your name will hit someone's desk before your presence ever will. So being mindful of what kind of name you create for yourself, I think, is very important. And that does start now. So parents, what does that look like now? That might look like how your child behaves in the classroom. From the educator perspective, I've seen where children's names, and teachers often don't want to give a second chance if your child has, become, quote unquote, a behavior problem. And we don't want them to be pigeonholed in a certain direction. So making sure that you're addressing behaviors and letting your child know, like, you're making a name for yourself in the things that you're doing now, whether it's positive or it's negative. Can it be change? Of course it can, but we don't ever want people to recognize and associate us with negative before they associate us with the good things and the awesome things that we do. So that, and then failure. In one of my classes, we were learning about interpersonal development and all of that, and that was a key takeaway for me. Like Captain Sean said, being able to fail is a part of good leadership. If you've never failed, I can't trust you because I can't identify with you. There's nothing, because me, I'm a regular human. I mess up, I made mistakes, all of that. And I learn from those and I keep moving. If you've never failed, that means that your learning is limited. So how can I trust you? You don't have any experience that tells me that you are someone I can learn from. So thank you so much for that one. Really appreciate that one. All right. Anybody want to jump in? You can jump in if you have anything. Nope. Okay. So you want to take that one?
What's one thing you wish people knew about your profession?
What's one thing that you all wish someone knew about your profession? And I want Captain Tashawn and Master Sergeant Adrian to talk about what drone pilots do. So we are used to like the little small drones that we computer, hand remote, whatever. So talk about that a little bit for me.
I'll go first. So probably it has been given a bad name in a lot in the news, um, but I guess you from my perspective, you can trust that the intent is not coming from a negative place. So the you again, you will see a lot of negative about it, but it's a necessary um, piece of equipment. And probably what people don't know about it, if you ever seen a drone, is this thing's about 100 times the size that you think it is. So it is the size of an actual full-size airplane that you can fly in. Um, yeah, so not small by any means. And again, it's necessary. It has a bad, like I said, it's gotten a bad rap, but just trust that the intent is there for positive outcomes.
And to capitalize on that, I actually had that written down as well, that it the media as you know, blows up bad news and is not good about putting good news out there. So there is definitely a lot of good that comes out of this. And realize, I'm sure people know, in the military, you are doing a service to the country. There are some people that are overseas now risking their life for the country. So there are some things about this job where we will never deploy. So we are deployed in place. So we are still in the fight, but we're doing that here. So that can be different for family life. And that's one of the things I wish people kind of understood more, is that it takes a lot to do this job mentally, because you can be in the fight and then go home, and there's no break period in between you being in a fight and going home. You're there, and then you just go the next day, and then you go home to your family. It takes a lot mentally to do this specific job, but it's not impossible, and you need to have a good support system, your family support system there, if it takes a toll on you. People need to be there for you. Um, I think that's it for RPA. Yeah.
Charmaine or Adrian, what do you think is important about people knowing? You want people to know about your profession. Can y'all hear me? Yeah. Charmaine, are you able to hear me? I'm not sure.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Something important about my profession. I don't know. I can't think of anything right now that's super important about my profession. I mean, it's very high paced and it's very important. Like I said, that's the way that we get our supplies onto the ship, is by us launching and recovering. So I know you talked about transportation, and that's one of the ways that we get things to and from where it needs to go while we're in the middle of nowhere. We're literally in the middle of the ocean. So without us launching and recovering, I think that it's important to know, hey, like, we need these people out here doing this. So I don't really know. That answered the question.
All right, Kiera, since you're able to join us, we're talking about what is one thing you wish people knew about oh, everybody's leaving. Okay, we'll keep on moving. All right. The next question: what are the educational requirements or the certifications or trainings that are needed for your particular profession? What are the educational requirements for your profession?
For me, so commissioning into the military, doesn't matter what service. You need a bachelor's degree at the very least. So you have to go to college for 4 years, get your bachelor's degree. As far as becoming a pilot, a pilot is a rated category. So it's just people that wear flight suits. So that's an easy way to look at it. And you have to take a basic little test that's kind of tests. Some of them are really silly. It's like there's a shape, and you have to say what side a certain stairway is. It's really weird. Is the test how you can see objects and orient them in your mind, like of how it should be. So it'll be
So
like two
visual
different blocks.
spatial.
Yeah, it's really weird. But that's one of the tests that you have to take. And then after you are selected to become a pilot, you go through a lot of training. So I went through, after I got commissioned from Vegas, I got selected, and then I started at Randolph Air Force Base, which is in Texas. And I went there. trained a little bit there. I had then went to Colorado, and actually that's where I first flew an actual real plane, and that was really beneficial because, and it was fun because you got to fly a plane. And then I went to New Mexico, and then I ended up in Vegas. So this was all my first experience. So here in Vegas is my first PCS. It's my first base. Whereas I'm sure Adrian's been through a lot of bases, but I've just been through a lot of training, and that took like 2 years. But yeah, so that's all. You get selected, and then they'll train you and get you where you need to be.
And you also, Adrian, if you could talk a little bit about the SVAB, like the initial test, maybe for anyone who's coming out of high school or anything like that.
So for my specific profession, or just to be an enlisted member, you don't require, the minimal schooling is really GED or high school diploma. As far as qualifications are concerned, for me to become a flight engineer, it was almost a year and a half of just direct training. So kind of vocational training. So all on the job training, actually flying for about a year and a half. The same for becoming a sensor operator, which I am currently. It was about 7 or 8 months total of just direct hands-on training at a flight school. As far as the ASVAB concerned, it's very general. It covers mm, uh, electrical, it covers administrative, some math in there. I think it's a little bit of science. It's very basic, very similar to a placement test, I guess you'd say, for school. There is study material for it if someone would be interested in it, and then you just could kind of grab that book and study it in advance. But it it's not very difficult by any means. It's just really just putting in the effort.
So Kiera and Charmaine, we're talking about the schooling, the certifications, the trainings that are required for your particular profession. So if you all can unmute and just kind of share, and we got to catch you up on a lot of questions, Kiera.
So mine is exactly like Captain. Is it Tayshawn? It's exactly the same. So for all across the board, each branch take exactly the same test, and then you just kind of go from there with the line scores that they have, and it shows you where you'll do good at and what you'll be able to work in better in.
Okay, can y'all hear me? Okay, sorry. For commercial driving, they don't really require a high school diploma, but high school diploma or GED preferably. Usually, in order to get your license, not in order to get your license, you have to at least be 21. But certain states allow 18 years, 18 years old, but you can't go outside of the state itself. But there are more restrictions that come with that. But companies usually prefer 21 or older. As far as well, they do background checks. You have to pass a physical, depending on like endorsements on your license and stuff like that. There's other training that comes with that. Me personally, I had hazmat, so there were other tests required. But that's mostly it. No, I take that back. You need to have a decent driving record. Don't get me wrong, there are a lot of jobs in this profession, but they're really going to look at that. But yeah, usually just a GED or high school diploma, background checks, at least 21, because at least 21. But that's about it for qualifications for that.
Okay, so I want Kiera to share something since she hasn't been on this long. She actually had an incident, and I want you to kind of tie this in with the training that you had as far as like hazardous kind of situations. I think was it last year or the year before when the truck went up in fire? Was it last year?
Oh, that was
If you
last
don't
year.
mind, I don't want you. I'm sorry, I don't want to.
It's okay.
So the only
No.
reason I'm asking is because a lot of times, like, you don't know the other side. We don't know the other side. We just think they're carrying goods and whatnot. And she had a very, it was a dangerous situation. So it did require her to think on her feet. It required her to pull on some skills that she learned, just kind of being aware, of her environment, the situation, and it literally saved her life. So it's a lot deeper, as far as the training, because you had to do almost like an internship. I don't know what they call it, but where you had to co-drive with people and you have to,
Yes.
all of that, right? And that is part of your preparation to become your a separate driver, an independent driver, right?
Yes, it is. It
Okay.
is. Okay, well that story, that there have been others, but that one in particular, I start my day pretty early, so thank goodness I was like the only one out there. Depends on how you want to look at that scenario, but usually I'm pretty vigilant. I'm like the only one on the road at that time, but I was noticing some just some little smoke coming from the back of the trailer. So I was like, maybe it's just fog because it was it was like really early in the morning, but I'm like, fog doesn't look like that. So I pulled over and checked things out, and it was like not even maybe all of 5 minutes later, a fire started in the trailer itself, and I was carrying paper products on top of that, so that went rather quickly. But I stopped in time, and I was like, okay, let me go ahead and unhook from the trailer and just back away. And by the time I did all that and pulled down far enough to make sure I was at a safe distance and called the people I needed to call, it was on fire. So this job does require you to be like very alert, check like wiring on the trailer occasionally or under the hood of the truck. Those are like necessary things that you have to pay attention to. So yeah, that was something.
Wow. And so I think Charmaine was the one that talked about rapid paced environment. So your little sugar pie mom or dad that's at home and it takes them forever to get stuff done. They're dawdling and whatnot. We gotta, you know, in the classroom, parents like to say, well, they need a little more time. That may be true, but if we're preparing them for later, they don't determine the environment that they work in. If you go into certain environments, you're supposed to move how they move in that environment, according to the demand of that profession. So keep that in mind. I would imagine, it with Captain Tashawn and Master Sergeant Jackson, even in Charmaine Boatswain, excuse me, Charmaine, she mentioned it also, like the environment may be high impact, so they have to move. They have to move when it's time to move. So start that now. If they're on a team or something, they have that captain. I mean, not the captain, but their coach, and it's like, hey, I need y'all to take laps or whatever, and then you have your little sugar pie that's they want to trot and whatever. Ain't nobody got time for that. You better move and get done what I said get done. So just be mindful, of helping them to keep up with the pace, has nothing to do with their learning ability or anything. Like they got to keep up. So if anybody has anything, you're more than welcome to jump in. If not, we'll move to the next question. Let's do that one.
Do you have any
Mentors
or supporters available to uh, to you on your journey of becoming
and filling your profession there. So did you have any mentors that you looked up to? Anyone that, and I think we kind of heard Tashawn mention Adrian, but anybody else, if you have any supporters or people that you looked up to that kind of pointed you in the right direction, that steered you right, anything?
Okay. Yeah. Aside from the obvious, my parents supported me. My dad put me in the right school and put me in the right direction in order to achieve what I wanted to achieve. So I'm really appreciative of that. Um, I would say I have some people along the way in college that helped me get to where I wanted to be. If I was ever in a bad place, they helped me push forward. Um, but my recent memory is better to me, so I can remember it. I would say someone actually that I work with right now that Adrian works really closer to, that I actually look up to him a lot, and you know who I'm talking about, Bear. And he told me something the other day. Um, he what did he say? He said that your personality will enter more rooms than you ever will, and that's why I try to present myself a certain way, because you actually alluded to it earlier that your personality will reach someone's desk before you do, and that, like, to this day, that he told me that like a couple of weeks ago. I really like that a lot. So
So my current position, I wasn't led here through a mentor per se. It was kind of more the needs of the Air Force, so they needed me, my rank and position. However, as far as becoming a flight engineer, so I was a mechanic originally, and this is going to sound bad, but there was a master sergeant who was a flight engineer. I do not remember his name now, but every time I would come onto the airplane, he would always grab me and say, "Hey, I want to show you this. I want to show you how to do this. This is what we do. I know you're a mechanic, but maybe this is something you should consider." And I would see him every week, and he'd always grab me and show me something new, show me something new. And he was just trying to recruit me, but it was mainly based on him seeing how hard I was working as a mechanic. I'd be the first one out there. I was always wanting to understand, learn. And that's actually where action came from. It was because of being a mechanic, but always just being engaged and wanting to be out front, wanting to be the problem solver. And it just led me to where I am today.
That's good. I think that talks about you ladies jump in, but that talks about the power of like mentorship, and that a lot of times the person, I believe in destiny and all of that, but the person that is, to help you get to that next stage, they see stuff in you that you don't really know and realize is in you until they start pulling on it. So, what kind of advice, Adrian, would you share with a parent that, someone may see something in their child? Like, how would you encourage a parent to, follow through, in allowing that relationship safely, obviously, but that relationship to be developed in their child, with their child?
I believe so frequently that parents have a vision of what they want their kid to be long before the kid is showing signs of really being um, maybe interested in certain things, right? So you want them to do things because that's what I did, kind of a thing. But I believe if you pay close enough attention to your kids, that you can cultivate their interest, because that would make that would have it, it would stick better. It would be something that they would grasp onto and work through because they enjoy it or it's their interest. So I think there's that balance of the goals you have set for them and cultivating their actual skill set. So paying attention to them and seeing where their interests are and then sending them in that direction would probably be your best bet.
Kiara, jump in there.
Um,
Sherman, jump in there.
to piggyback off of what he just said, the whole you might have an initial plan for them. My career path at first was headed towards nursing. Absolutely nothing to do with driving trucks whatsoever. That's how it started, and this is how it's going. So, I mean, I agree with everything he just said. You can kind of try to steer them in that direction, but at the end of the day, this is where I am with this. So, you know, I just I just say, as long as they put their best foot forward, and take that first step in pursuing whatever it is, the outcome. How can you be mad at that? You put forth the best effort. So
That's good. And it wasn't like, I don't want anybody to hear you go one direction because you weren't successful the other direction. That was not Kiara's her story. Very intelligent all her life in school. I know she's very intelligent. So don't think it's like I had to do this by default. No, this was a legitimate choice that she made,
It,
and she
it
is
was.
excellent at what she does. She hated nursing school. I remember her telling me, she was like, that ain't it. So when you find your it, you put more effort into it. And she is excellent at what she does. So everybody has a different calling, a different passion. And, parents, just be mindful of what it is that your baby is showing, tendencies towards. And like Adrienne said, develop that. Give them opportunity because it's gonna be their life at the end of it. They'll be the ones that's living this life. So just keep that in mind. All right, Charmaine, you want to jump in? You got it. Okay. All right. So we are almost at the end. We'll do one more question. What insights have you gained about yourself in your career advancement? So what have you learned about you as you've grown in your profession, in your career?
Okay. Sorry, I just raised my hand. Um, I've learned. I thought I was patient at first. I thought I had a lot of patience, but this job has taught me I was completely wrong. So, you know, I'm every day you can learn new stuff. So I'm getting better with that. But also don't be afraid to ask for help. I don't have a problem with asking for help, but considering I'm in a male dominated field, I don't mind offering it, but it's not always accepted either. So, don't be afraid to, ask for help and I'll offer it. So, that's what I've learned out here. Because people get it confused, not confused. They view it differently because I might be younger than the individual, and they're like, nah, she can't really show me much, and that's not the case. I'm just trying to be helpful. So, you know, if they offer it, take it. If not, that's fine too. But just try to be helpful at the end of the day.
That's really, really good. You guys can jump in also.
All right, I'll go. Um, yeah, I'm glad she said it's okay to have help because that's something that when I first had to do that, I struggle with that a lot because a lot of the stuff that I know how to do, little hobbies that I do, I taught myself. I mean, I taught myself how to swim, So I taught myself how to do a lot of things. I was not used to asking for help, and that was hard for me to do, but really important for me to realize as someone in my position. And we already mentioned the failure thing. Learning how to fail was super important for me. At the same time, I think learning because I would say I'm still kind of new to this whole adult life, of all the stuff you have to deal with. I would say I learned how to, or it was good to learn how to balance your work life with your home life and make sure that you're still, that you're taking care of yourself because I can't effectively lead and be a leader if I'm not okay. If I'm off, everyone's gonna know it. Like I'm gonna just be a certain way, and that's part of that social intelligence. So that's some insights that I've gained.
That's a really good one. That's self-care. I saw Kiara kind of smiling because that's something I'm big on since going back to school, adding another full-time thing to my full-time life. It's kind of hard to get self-care in, but it's definitely important. So learning how to take time for yourself to heal, to think, to process, to rest. That's a really big one. But go ahead, Adrienne.
So I think the biggest thing I learned about myself was that how much I enjoy teaching. Though I was never big on school, minus what interested me, which is typically not the avenue that's available. You typically assign classes, assign curriculum. However, I was able to teach at the schoolhouse, and being able to watch people grow and watch them have that light bulb come on with new concepts that was kind of the biggest thing for me, was again teaching. So I didn't think that was something that would interest me by any stretch. I know I gave every teacher I had a hard time, so I definitely wouldn't have wanted to be in their shoes. I always think back to that, and now I have much more appreciation for educators.
Ha ha. So it does come back full circle to all those parents. All right. Chiara Sherman, what's something?
Well, for me, I think I learned that, I'm more of a leader. I don't really like being told what to do. I know it's pretty hard with my position and, my rank, but I learned, I need to get qualified and fully qualified, because I do not want people to tell me what to do. Like, I want to be able to lead. I enjoy working with others, which I did not know that at all. I always thought I wanted to be alone and just kind of be in the office by myself, but that's definitely not what I wanted to do. And I'm also learning that I don't think that an office setting is for me. I think I'm more of a hands-on person. I knew it, at a younger age, but like, I'm fully aware now that I'm sure I'm a hands-on person.
Chiara?
Well, since I was nodding, back on that the mental wellness part, um, I had another driver tell me, not driver, another person tell me that you're just driving. The conversation wasn't really important to me. You're just driving. Like, no, there's more to it than just driving. This job is a mental thing, and I had to break that down as to why for him. But the people that I met out here in this profession so far, they're with me on that. It is mental, and with everything going on, it's like you're already in isolation. So when you get home and the whole world's in isolation, it's like everything kind of takes a toll after a while. So your self-care, your mental wellness, all of that is important, and you need to have you a spa day, a you day, whatever you want to call it, but all of that is very necessary. I thought, I wasn't such a social person, so I thought this would be great for me. But now it's like, no, I kind of like people. I want I want some togetherness. Excuse me. So, like, yeah, work on you. That mental wellness is essential. So, that has to get done. So,
That's good. So we are at the end. I want to say thank you to each and every one of you for joining us this evening. I will, if you have a way that people can maybe contact you to ask you more, if their child has more questions about what you do, if you all will just email me and I will attach it to this thread on our YouTube and our social media, our Facebook accounts. I'll do that. But I just want to say thank you. Thank you all for joining us. I appreciate your support. I thank you for the insight that you've given tonight or this evening. Well, you all are still y'all in the West Coast, so it might not be as late as it is here. But
No.
thank you so much. I hope you've enjoyed it. We've enjoyed having you. And this is the last installment in this particular series. We'll look at maybe bringing it back and looking at some other areas and professions next year. But this is the last. So you all are closing us out in this series. And I do appreciate you for doing an awesome job with that. Do you have any last words or anything? Anyone?
I think it froze. Can anyone hear me?
Mhm.
Oh, okay. So my screen froze, but I would say last message for parents. There, it's a different world than when you grew up, right? So if people aren't interested in becoming a pilot, military pilot, that's a very easy route to take. A lot of sources out there. Super important to support them through what they want to do and encourage them finding things that they like to do rather than just finding a job to make money. Because it's, yeah, money is important to live, but like your well-being is important to live. So being happy with what you're doing, and that's going to stem off of finding something that you enjoy and maybe turning your hobbies into jobs because you can do that now. So yeah, you can make money off anything.
I would say, don't get too caught up in the pace of the movement as long as you're still moving forward. So set those goals and work towards them. And you'll fail at times, you'll fall short, but you just got to keep going and you'll keep growing.
That is good. I love that goal setting. That's a big one. 'Cause I don't think enough people set goals short term, within the week, within the month, or anything. And we just kind of act like life is going to happen. We don't diligently and intensely work towards it. So thank you for that, Adrian. All right, Kiara, anything?
What they said.
Get out, whatever. So, on that note, thank you all for joining us. I really appreciate you. On Thursday, we will be back live with a good friend of mine, Danielle Carvel Darty. We'll be talking about resilience and risk factors and protective factors with our children, why it's important for our children to have resilience. What do protective factors look like? What's the greatest protective factor that we can have? So these are conversations I think that are needed. This will be the first official installment in our series, Building Stronger Children, Building Stronger Families. So tune in on Thursday at 7 p.m. That's this Thursday, the 27th of May. And join us, come with questions because she will have lots of answers. And we also have our end of the year celebration. If you are in the east part of the country, in the southeast, you're more than welcome to join us if you've been a participant in anything as far as a panelist or what else, my co-host or anything, and our RSVP. So that information went out. If you didn't get it, it's a inclusive, it's an exclusive invite, so don't feel bad, but we need you to RSVP if you did get that information, because we would love for you to come. And yeah, we'll just keep on moving forward. Thank you all so much again for joining us, and I pray that you all have a great night, and thank you again. So